A girl in the ashes, a ball, a dress that arrives by magic, glass slippers, a clock that counts down to midnight, a prince who falls in love across a ballroom. She runs, she loses a slipper, he searches the kingdom with it. Every girl tries it on, it fits only one. They marry. She is kind to her stepsisters who wronged her because she is good. Everyone lives happily ever after. That is the version Disney gave you in 1950, and the version Charles Perrault gave Europe in 1697. The glass slippers, the fairy godmother, the pumpkin coach, the mice. The version so smooth and so complete that it has become the template for every romance story that followed it. The Brothers Grimm published their version in 1812. The slipper is gold, not glass, and the stepsisters do not simply fail to fit it. That is the version we decided to tell our children. This is the one that came before it.
Before the Grimms, there was Perrault, and before Perrault, there were Italian and German folk variants stretching back centuries, including a version by Giambattista Basile in 1634 called La Gatta Cenerentola, the Cat Cinderella, in which the heroine kills her own governess to get her father to remarry, and the stepmother is eventually sealed in a trunk and beaten to death. The deep history of this story is not gentle. Charles Perrault's Cendrillon, 1697, is the version that shaped the modern imagination. It is elegant, witty, and deliberately constructed as a moral tale for the French court. Perrault invented the glass slippers. They do not appear in any earlier version. Scholars have debated whether this was a translation error. The French word verre, meaning ermine fur, is close to verre, meaning glass. A scribe's slip, perhaps, that Perrault kept because he liked the image. The glass slippers are possibly the most famous detail in fairy tale history, and they may be a mistake. Perrault also invented the fairy godmother, the pumpkin coach, and the mice into horses. None of these appear in earlier versions. He built the magic infrastructure of the story from scratch because his version needed a specific kind of magic, transformative, temporary, morally instructive. The ball is made possible by grace. The return to the kitchen is the reminder that grace can be withdrawn. The Grimms went back to the older folk tradition. Their Cinderella, Aschenputtel, has none of Perrault's elegant machinery, no fairy godmother, no pumpkin, no glass. Instead, she has a hazel tree growing from her mother's grave and the white bird that lives in it.
Cinderella's mother dies. Before she dies, she tells her daughter, "Be good and pious, and God will always help you, and I will look down on you from heaven and be near you." Her father remarries. The stepmother and her two daughters arrive. Cinderella is stripped of her fine clothes and given a gray smock and wooden shoes. She is made to sleep in the ashes by the hearth. They call her Aschenputtel, Ash Fool, Cinderella. Her father goes to a fair. He asks what he should bring back. The stepsisters want fine dresses, pearls, jewels. Cinderella asks only for the first branch that brushes against his hat on his way home. He brings back a hazel branch. She plants it on her mother's grave and waters it with her tears. It grows into a beautiful tree. A white bird comes to live in it.
When Cinderella stands beneath the tree and wishes for something, the white bird drops it down to her. The magic is not a fairy godmother. It is her dead mother, present in the tree, responding to her daughter's grief. The bird is not whimsy. It is grief transformed into provision. Her mother cannot be there. The tree is the shape her mother's love takes when it has nowhere else to go. This is a profoundly different kind of magic from Perrault's. Perrault's magic is external, temporary, granted by a stranger. The Grimm's magic is internal, permanent, grown from mourning. It does not turn back into a pumpkin at midnight. It is always there, because the grave is always there, because the mother is always there in the form of what she left behind.
The king announces a 3-day festival. All the beautiful maidens in the land are invited, so his son can choose a bride. The stepmother tells Cinderella she cannot go. She has no dress, no shoes, she is covered in ash. She gives Cinderella an impossible task instead. Sort a bowl of lentils from the ashes in 2 hours. Cinderella calls to the birds. They come, doves, turtle doves, all the birds under heaven, and they sort the lentils in an hour. The stepmother gives her a second bowl, larger, and the same instruction. The birds sort it in half an hour. The stepmother leaves for the festival without her anyway. Cinderella goes to the hazel tree. She calls to the white bird, "Shake and quiver, little tree, throw gold and silver down on me." The bird drops down a gold and silver dress, silk shoes embroidered with gold, not glass, gold. She goes to the ball. She dances with the prince. No one recognizes her, not her stepmother, not her stepsisters, no one. When it is late, she runs. The prince tries to follow. She hides in the pigeon house. The prince waits. She slips away home while he is confused. The same thing happens on the second night. On the third night, the dress is more magnificent than either of the first two. The prince, having lost her twice, has prepared a trap. He has coated the stairs with pitch. She runs. One gold shoe sticks in the pitch. She escapes without it. The prince announces that he will marry the girl whose foot fits the golden shoe. The prince comes to Cinderella's house. He has the shoe. He tries it on every girl in the kingdom. He comes to this house. The eldest stepsister tries the shoe on first. Her toe is too large. It does not fit. Her mother takes her to a private room. She gives her daughter a knife. She says, "Cut off your toe. When you are queen, you will no longer need to walk." The stepsister cuts off her toe. She puts the shoe on. It fits. She walks out to the prince in pain, and he lifts her onto his horse and rides away with her as his bride. They pass a hazel tree on the way. 2 doves are sitting in it. They call out, "Look back! Look back! There's blood in the track! The shoe is too small! The right bride's back!" The prince looks down. There is blood in the shoe. He turns back. The prince returns to the house. The younger stepsister tries the shoe. Her heel is too large. It does not fit. Her mother takes her to a private room. She says, "Cut off your heel. When you are queen, you will no longer need to walk." The stepsister cuts off her heel. The shoe fits. She walks out in pain, and the prince takes her. They pass the hazel tree. The doves call out again. Look back, there's blood in the track. The shoe is too small, the right bride's back. He looks, blood, he returns her. He asks, is there no other daughter in this house? The father says, almost sheepishly, as if mentioning something minor, there is a little kitchen drudge that my late wife left behind, but she cannot possibly be the bride. The prince asks for her. She washes her hands and face. She goes to the hazel tree. The bird drops the gold and silver dress. She puts it on. She tries the shoe. It slides on perfectly. It was made for her foot. It was always made for her foot.
If you are new here, this is what this series does. We read the first edition. We do not skip the hard parts. Subscribe because the hardest part of the story is still coming, and it happens at the wedding. The wedding is announced. Cinderella is to marry the prince. The stepsisters are invited. They want perhaps to share in the good fortune, or cannot stay away, or are simply invited because Cinderella is not vindictive in the way the story is. They walk into the church. They take their places. When they walk into the church, the doves are waiting. One dove for each eye of each stepsister. On the way in, the doves peck out one eye from each of them. On the way out, the doves peck out the other. The stepsisters leave Cinderella's wedding permanently blind. Both of them, both eyes, gone. The story ends. Cinderella and the prince live happily ever after. The stepsisters live the rest of their lives in darkness, punished, the story tells us, for their wickedness and malice. I want to come back to the hazel tree for a moment, because I think it is the most quietly powerful element in the Grimm version, and the element that gets lost most completely in the Disney translation. The fairy godmother in Perrault is a figure of external grace. She arrives, she transforms, she sets a condition, midnight, and she leaves. She is benevolent, but not intimate. She is not grief, she is not love, she is plot mechanism. The hazel tree is something else. It grows from the mother's grave. It grows because Cinderella plants it and waters it with her tears. Every time she goes to it and makes a wish, she is not calling on magic. She is calling on her mother. She is standing at the grave and saying, I still need you. And the tree answers. This means that the golden dress, the golden shoes, the 3 knights at the ball, the prince, all of it flows from one source. A girl who refused to stop grieving, who kept returning to the grave, who would not let the absence be permanent. The mother never actually left. She became a tree. She became a bird. She became a dress made of gold and silver that fit perfectly every time because it was made for this specific girl by the specific force that had always known her best. Disney gave Cinderella a stranger with a wand. The Grimms gave her a mother who died and kept showing up anyway. I think about which of those is more comforting, and I find I cannot decide. What does it mean that we took a story about what people destroy in themselves to gain power and turned it into a story about shoes? The stepsisters did not cut off their toes and heels from stupidity. They did it because the prize was real and the cost seemed survivable. They were wrong about the cost, but the calculation, what would I give up? What would I damage in myself to become the person who is chosen, is not a calculation that belongs to them alone.
It is not a fairy tale calculation. It is a human one. The Grimm's version keeps the calculation visible. It puts it in the body. It makes it literal. Here is the knife. Here is the instruction. Here is what you cut away to fit. And it shows the consequence. The birds, the blood in the track, the eyes of the wedding. The story watches what you do, and it remembers. Perrault and Disney removed the knife. They removed the blood. They removed the doves and the blinding. They kept the shoe, the ball, the dress, the prince, the reconciliation. They made it a story about grace rewarded, about a good girl who suffers patiently and is eventually recognized. That is a beautiful story. It is also a story where no consequences are shown, a story where the only cost is patience, where the only requirement is goodness, where nothing is permanently marked. The Grimms wrote a story where everything is permanently marked. The Stepsisters walked out of that wedding unable to see. They carried what they had chosen for the rest of their lives. The hazel tree watched them go. The mother in the tree had seen it all from the beginning. She had been watching since the day she died.